Did you know that what you eat every day could be weakening your bones without you even realizing it? Maybe you think you're eating well. Maybe even people tell you that at your age it's normal to feel weaker, more fragile, with your bones a bit more sensitive. But what if I told you there are foods silently speeding up that deterioration? And many of them are right now in your kitchen. Starting from 70 years old, our bones no longer regenerate like before. Bone density begins to decrease faster, and the risk of fractures multiplies. According to the International Osteoporosis Foundation, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men over 70 will suffer a serious bone fracture in the rest of their lives. And the most shocking part, many of those fractures are not caused by severe falls, but by bones that were already weak inside. But here's what nobody tells you. It's not just age. It's not just genetics. There are common foods, even some that seem harmless or healthy, that are draining calcium from your bones, interfering with the absorption of essential nutrients and accelerating bone mass loss without you noticing. Today I'm going to reveal the 6 most dangerous foods for your bones after 70. They aren't rare items or exotic ingredients. They are products you probably consume daily without a second thought. But understanding what they're doing inside your body can mean the difference between maintaining your independence or ending up dependent on others because of a preventable fracture. Stay until the end, because I won't just tell you what they are, but also what you can do about it to keep eating well without risking your bone health. Before continuing, I'd love to get to know you a bit more. How old are you, and from which country are you watching me? Write it in the comments so I know who I'm making this content for. Well, throughout life, our bones are constantly changing. They form, strengthen, adapt. But over time, especially after 65 or 70 years, that balance changes, and not for the better. What was once a natural renewal process becomes slower, weaker. Bones lose density. That means they become more porous, lighter, and unfortunately, much more fragile. But why does this happen? First, let's talk about calcium. It's the main structural component of your bones. From birth, the body works constantly to maintain good levels of calcium in the blood and bones. But as we age, the body's ability to absorb calcium from food decreases, and if not enough calcium comes in, the body takes it from your bones, weakening them little by little. Then there's vitamin D, which is key to helping the body absorb that calcium. The problem is that with age, we also produce less vitamin D naturally, especially if we spend little time in the sun. Without vitamin D, even if you eat calcium-rich foods, your body won't use it properly. And we can't forget collagen, an essential protein that acts as the scaffolding of bones, giving them flexibility and strength. From 50 years old, collagen production begins to decrease, and after 70, that loss speeds up. Without collagen, bones don't just weaken, they become more brittle, like a dry branch that breaks easily. Physical activity also plays a crucial role. Our bones need stimuli. They need movement, weight, moderate tension. Walking, climbing stairs, lifting small loads. All of this strengthens bone structure. But if you lead a very sedentary life, your bones don't get those signals and start losing strength inch by inch. Also, hormonal changes after a certain age, especially in postmenopausal women, reduce the natural protection against bone mass loss. Estrogen, a hormone that helps keep bones strong, drops drastically at menopause. And in men, testosterone also decreases, silently affecting bone density. And there's another silent enemy: cellular aging. Over the years, the cells that build bone, called osteoblasts, become less active, while those that destroy bone, osteoclasts, continue working normally. The result? The body loses more bone than it can replace. All this means that a small fall, which 20 years ago would have only caused a scratch, can now cause a hip fracture, a broken vertebra, or weeks in bed. And that's what we want to avoid. Because yes, aging is inevitable, but losing independence, balance, or mobility doesn't have to be, especially if you know which habits are weakening your bones even more without you noticing. And here's where something we often overlook comes in: Food. What you eat every day has a direct impact on your bone health. There are foods that help strengthen them, but there are also others that do exactly the opposite. Foods that, without your knowledge, are slowly undoing the structure that supports you. And now that you understand how vulnerable your bones become with age, you need to know which foods are accelerating this damage without you noticing. In the next part, we'll start with one of the most dangerous and most common, something you've probably consumed today. Tag. Few things accompany us for as many years as the sweet taste. A slice of cake, a cup of coffee with sugar, a juice in the afternoon. Throughout life, sugar has been there in moments of celebration, comfort, routine. But what you might not know is that the same sugar is silently weakening your bones day after day. Refined sugar, yes, the white table sugar found in most desserts, sodas and cereals, is one of the worst enemies for bone health after 70 years. Not because it's immediately poisonous, but because in the long term, it disrupts everything your bones need to stay strong. First, you have to understand one thing. The body needs calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D to maintain bone density. When you consume large amounts of sugar, your body enters a state of imbalance. To process that sugar, the body uses minerals like magnesium, leaving less available for essential functions, like maintaining your skeletal system. Also, excess sugar interferes with calcium absorption in the intestines. That is, even if you take supplements or eat calcium-rich foods, if you consume a lot of refined sugar, that calcium doesn't reach where it should. It simply gets lost in digestion. And we're not just talking about the sugar you put in your coffee. It's in sodas, flavored yogurts, breakfast cereals, cookies, and boxed juices. Even many light or sugar-free products are loaded with sweeteners that can also disrupt your metabolism and affect bone health over time. I want to tell you the story of Martha, a 76-year-old woman who felt limited by constant pain in her knees and hips. Her doctor recommended painkillers, and for a while she thought it was simply age. But a nutritionist made a simple suggestion: reduce all added sugar in her diet for 1 month. Martha accepted the challenge. She swapped desserts for fresh fruit, quit sodas, started reading labels. And to her surprise, she not only lost weight, but joint pain decreased significantly. What impacted her most was realizing she didn't need as much sugar as she thought, and that her body, her bones, were thanking her for that choice. So, how can you reduce sugar without feeling like you're sacrificing all pleasure? Here are some practical tips. Swap white sugar for cinnamon or natural vanilla extract to flavor your drinks or meals. Replace processed desserts with ripe fruits like banana, mango, or dates. Use raw honey or natural stevia in small amounts if you really need a sweet touch. Avoid industrial juices and opt for water with slices of fresh fruit like lemon, orange, or cucumber. And most importantly, read the labels. If one of the first ingredients is sugar, corn syrup, glucose, or fructose, think twice. It's not about eliminating sweetness completely from your life. It's about regaining control, caring for your bones while still enjoying. Every little decision counts. And every teaspoon of sugar you choose not to take is one more step toward aging with more mobility, less pain, and more freedom. In the next part, we'll talk about another seemingly harmless food that's destroying your bone health from the inside. Common salt. Salt. That little white grain that seems harmless, that's in almost all our meals, from homemade soup to snacks we eat mindlessly. Throughout life, we get used to using it without fear. But what many don't know is that after 70, excess salt can become a silent thief of calcium from your bones. And this is no exaggeration. Medical studies have shown that a high sodium diet causes the body to eliminate more calcium through urine. In other words, the more salt you consume, the more calcium you lose. It's that clear. And what happens when calcium leaves? Your bones weaken. They slowly empty out. What was once a firm, strong structure becomes porous, fragile, vulnerable. The result? A much higher risk of fractures, joint pain, and a progressively limited quality of life. But the problem isn't just the salt shaker on your table. The real enemy is often hidden in processed foods. We're talking about products like cold cuts and deli meats, Ham, sausages, chorizo, mortadella, all loaded with sodium. Canned soups and bouillon cubes. One serving can have more than half the daily recommended salt. Salty snacks. Potato chips, salted crackers, corn sticks. Tasty, yes, but dangerously salty. Processed cheeses, especially processed or shredded industrial types, which concentrate high sodium levels per serving. Now imagine combining constant calcium loss with high blood pressure, something that already affects more than 70% of older adults. That combination, fragile bones plus hypertension, is a time bomb. A small bump can become a fracture. A slip at home can end in surgery. And the worst is that many times we feel nothing, until it's too late. But not all is lost. It's not about removing flavor from your food, but learning to use healthier tools to season without damaging your bones. Here are some practical alternatives. Replace common salt with natural spices like garlic powder, turmeric, cumin, black pepper, or rosemary. Use lemon to enhance the flavor of meats, fish, and salads without adding sodium. Try natural vinegars, apple cider, balsamic, that add acidity and flavor. Cook with homemade broth without salt instead of industrial cubes. And very importantly, read labels. If a product has more than 150 milligrams of sodium per serving, think twice. You can also train your palate. At first, less salty foods may seem bland, but if you give your body a few days, you'll start to taste the real flavors of foods again. Salt isn't the only way to add flavor. It's just the most addictive. Remember, every extra pinch of salt you consume may be dragging away the calcium your bones desperately need to stay strong. And every decision you make today can help you keep your independence and quality of life tomorrow. Did you know there's a drink millions consume daily that's weakening bones without them noticing? It's not alcohol, nor coffee, nor anything exotic. It's sodas, especially dark carbonated drinks like colas. At first glance, they seem harmless, sweet, refreshing, ideal with a meal. But behind each sip hides a very dangerous ingredient for your bones: phosphoric acid. This compound, used to give that characteristic flavor to cola drinks, directly interferes with calcium absorption in your body. How? By unbalancing the calcium-phosphorus ratio. Both minerals are necessary for your bone health, but when there's excess phosphorus, as in sodas, the body extracts calcium from wherever it can, and almost always from your bones. That means every time you drink a soda, your body might be pulling calcium from your bones to compensate for the imbalance. This weakens bone structure over time, especially in older adults whose recovery ability is much lower. And if we add caffeine, present in many of these drinks, the problem worsens. Caffeine increases calcium elimination through urine, so you're losing calcium two ways at once. An apparently innocent drink that's actually undermining your bone strength without you noticing. We're not just saying this. Several scientific studies have proven this link. For example, research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older women who regularly consumed cola sodas had significantly lower bone density than those who didn't. And it wasn't due to lack of calcium in their diet. It was the direct effect of phosphoric acid and caffeine. Another study, this time in older adults in Europe, showed that those who frequently drank sodas had up to a 40% higher risk of hip fractures. This is no coincidence. It's cumulative, silent, and avoidable damage. Let me tell you about Helen, a 74-year-old woman who for decades drank at least one can of soda a day. She loved the taste and thought it was a harmless habit. But a couple of years ago, she started feeling constant hip pain. After several exams, her doctor explained she had very low bone density despite consuming dairy and daily walking. The decisive factor? Her soda consumption. Helen decided to make a change. She replaced soda with water with lemon slices, unsweetened infusions, and diluted natural juices. In the next 6 months, her pain decreased. She regained energy, and her new tests showed a mild but steady improvement in calcium levels. It wasn't easy at first. As she says, it was almost an addiction, but it was worth it. And that's the main message. You don't have to eliminate everything you like. but you do have to learn to choose consciously. Sodas don't just affect your weight or blood sugar. They're also leaving your bones more fragile with every glass. Is it hard to give up soda? Try this. Water with fruit slices, lemon, orange, cucumber, cold herbal infusions like mint or chamomile, drinks without added sugar or gas like natural coconut water, and even sparkling water, but without additives or sweeteners. Your body will thank you. Your bones even more. TAC. Many older adults say the same thing. I only have a little glass of wine a day, it doesn't hurt. And sure, we're not here to demonize every sip, but we do need to speak clearly. Alcohol, even in small, frequent amounts, has a deep and silent impact on your bones. And if you're over 70, that impact might be greater than you imagine. Let's start with something key. Alcohol directly interferes with the production and activation of vitamin D in your body. And as you know, vitamin D is essential for you to absorb the calcium you consume. Without enough active vitamin D, calcium simply won't fix into your bones. You can drink milk, eat fish, even take supplements, but if alcohol disrupts that process, the effort won't work. Also, alcohol reduces the liver's ability to convert vitamin D into its active form. And not only that, it also affects the parathyroid glands, which regulate blood calcium levels. That is, it alters the whole system that keeps your bones strong. And if that weren't enough, there's another factor few mention: collagen. Alcohol decreases type 1 collagen production, which is the type found in your bones, tendons, and cartilage. What does this mean? Bones not only lose density, but also resistance and flexibility. They become more brittle, more prone to fracture even from a simple fall. Studies have shown that older people who habitually consume alcohol experience accelerated bone mass loss, especially in hips, wrists, and spine. And the most worrying part is that many don't link it to their drinking. They think the problem is age, lack of calcium, not that daily little glass that seems harmless. And here it's important to talk about the famous little glass of wine a day. It has been said for years that a glass of wine can be good for the heart, but that message has been misunderstood and misapplied. It doesn't mean drinking every day as routine, nor using it as an excuse to justify the habit. For most older people, the damage to bones outweighs any cardiovascular benefit. So, does this mean you'll never toast or enjoy a glass on special occasions? Not necessarily, but it is crucial to do so with real moderation and full awareness. Here are some recommendations if you want to keep caring for your bones without giving up pleasure entirely. Avoid drinking alcohol more than twice a week, always in moderate amounts. Don't mix alcohol with medications without consulting your doctor. If you have osteoporosis, ideally eliminate alcohol completely or reduce it to a minimum. Always drink it with calcium-rich foods and water to avoid dehydration. Consider other ways to toast. Sparkling water with fruit slices. Mocktails, alcohol-free drinks with herbs, fruits, and sparkling water. Cold infusions in nice glasses to keep the toast ritual. And most importantly, don't use alcohol as a routine or emotional relief, because silently, it weakens your defenses, affects your hormonal balance, and steals strength from your skeleton. Remember, your bones don't complain until it's too late. And a fracture at this stage of life can change everything, from your mobility to your independence. So ask yourself, is that daily habit worth it if what's at stake is your long-term health? No. There are foods that, at first glance, we know aren't the healthiest, but we still keep eating them because they're tasty, practical, or simply part of our routine for decades. One of the most dangerous for your bones, especially after 70, are processed meats. Bacon, sausages, ham, cold cuts, deli meats. These products not only contain high amounts of saturated fat, but also 3 silent enemies that directly affect your bone system health: sodium, artificial phosphorus, and chronic inflammation they cause. Let's start with sodium, which we mentioned before. These meats are packed with salt to preserve flavor and shelf life. But every gram of excess sodium makes your body lose calcium through urine. It's like you're expelling part of your bones every time you eat a ham sandwich or breakfast with sausages. The second problem, perhaps less known, is artificially added phosphorus. Unlike natural phosphorus found in foods like nuts or legumes, synthetic phosphorus in these products is not properly balanced with calcium. And why is that serious? Because our bones need a specific ratio between calcium and phosphorus to stay strong. When there's too much phosphorus and too little calcium, the body starts pulling calcium from bones to maintain blood balance. Result? Your bones become more fragile, more porous, and more prone to fractures. And the third problem is chronic inflammation. Processed meats contain preservatives like nitrites and nitrates, as well as saturated fats, and often residues of antibiotics or chemicals used in production. All these elements cause silent inflammation in the body. And yes, that inflammation also affects bones. How? It slows bone tissue regeneration, interferes with collagen production, and affects cells responsible for repairing microfractures that appear with age. If repair is faulty, bones not only weaken, they deform and wear down from the inside. Imagine this: a 75-year-old lady named Carmen. She always ate Serrano ham or mortadella sandwiches for dinner. It was practical, tasty, and reminded her of childhood. But after a minor fall in the kitchen, she fractured her hip. What seemed like a minor bump ended in surgery and months of rehab. When reviewing her diet, doctors noticed a severe calcium-phosphorus imbalance, plus signs of internal inflammation. The trigger was what seemed harmless: her beloved cold cuts. Does this mean you can never eat a slice of ham or a piece of bacon again? Not necessarily. But it does mean they shouldn't be part of your daily diet if you want to keep your bones strong and functional in the years ahead. So, what can you do? Here are some healthy protein sources that do protect your bone system. Eggs, rich in protein and natural vitamin D. Legumes, lentils, chickpeas and beans are excellent for bones. Bluefish like sardines or salmon, sources of calcium, omega-3 and vitamin D. Unprocessed chicken breast, no preservatives, low sodium and rich in protein. Natural yogurts without sugar provide calcium and probiotics that help absorption. Also, try cooking yourself instead of buying ready-made products. When you choose your ingredients, you choose to care for your body. Your bones support you every day, but only warn you when they're already in danger. Don't wait for an osteoporosis diagnosis to make changes. Start now, with conscious decisions at every meal. Chai. For many, the day doesn't start until the first cup of coffee. That familiar aroma, warmth between the hands, that little moment of energy. But if you're over 70, I have to tell you something you might not know. Excess coffee may be silently weakening your bones. The main culprit isn't coffee itself, but the caffeine it contains. While it helps keep us awake and energetic, various studies have shown that large amounts of caffeine reduce calcium absorption in bones. And over time, that can translate into loss of bone density, greater fragility, and fracture risk. How does this process work? Caffeine interferes directly with the digestive system, causing the intestine to absorb less calcium from your meals. It also makes your body eliminate calcium faster through urine. That is, less calcium comes in and more goes out. A dangerous combination. So, how many cups are too many? Bone health experts agree that after 70 years old, you shouldn't drink more than 2 small cups of coffee a day. That's roughly 200 milligrams of caffeine. But beware, not all coffees are equal, and that amount can be reached quickly if you use large cups or drink several times a day. Also, many people think they can compensate by drinking more milk or taking calcium supplements. But if you keep abusing coffee, that extra help won't be enough. The silent damage will continue. It's also important to know that not all coffees affect the same way. For example, black coffee alone without milk is the strongest and blocks calcium absorption the most. Coffee with milk, especially if you use calcium-rich milk, can partially counteract that negative effect, though it doesn't eliminate it completely. Decaffeinated coffee is a good option if you don't want to give up the taste, but want to reduce the impact on your bones. Although it has some caffeine, the amount is much lower. Now, if you're thinking, but I need coffee to stay awake, don't worry. There are healthy ways to get energy without risking your bone health. Here are some strategies you can start today. Drink more water. Often tiredness comes from dehydration, not lack of coffee. Get active in the morning. Walking 15 minutes in the sun activates your body and improves vitamin D absorption, essential for bones. Sleep better at night. If you rest well, you'll need fewer stimulants in the morning. Eat foods rich in natural energy, like oats, banana, nuts, or unsweetened yogurt. And if you really find it hard to quit coffee, you don't have to eliminate it completely. The important thing is to reduce the amount, avoid it in the afternoon, and combine it with habits that strengthen your bones. Think of it this way. Every cup you reduce is a small step towards stronger bones, less pain, and lower fracture risk in the coming years. It's not about giving up pleasure, but balancing it wisely. And now that you know these 6 foods that harm your bones, stay with me, because what's next can mark a before and after in your bone health. Many of the foods that damage our bones today don't come in suspicious packages or with red warning labels. In fact, some are on the shopping lists of millions who want to take care of themselves. They come labeled as healthy, light, fortified, or natural. But behind that friendly facade, there are ingredients weakening your bones without you knowing. Let's talk about those foods that seem harmless, even beneficial, but could be accelerating bone density loss in people over 70. Let's start with a classic: sugary yogurts. Yes, natural yogurt is an excellent source of calcium and probiotics, but most sold in supermarkets are loaded with sugar, artificial flavors, and thickeners. Some labeled low-fat or 0% can contain more than 5 teaspoons of sugar per serving. We already saw how sugar affects calcium absorption, so imagine the impact when you consume it every day, thinking you're being healthy. Second case, fortified cereals. Many promise to provide iron, calcium, vitamins, but check the ingredients. Most are made from refined flours, contain hidden sugars, colorings, and synthetic minerals that the body doesn't always absorb well. Some even contain added phosphorus in phosphate form, which alters the natural phosphorus-calcium ratio in the body, weakening bones little by little. Now let's talk about something very trendy: plant-based drinks like almond, oat, or soy milk. Not all are bad, but there's a big problem. Many don't have added calcium or contain it in forms the body doesn't absorb well. Also, they often come loaded with sugars, stabilizers, carrageenan, and refined vegetable oils that cause inflammation. If you left cow's milk for a plant-based drink without reading the label carefully, you could be consuming a product that not only doesn't provide calcium, but may be damaging your bone health. And now, one of the most deceptive, light or low-fat products. When natural fat is removed from food, they often add sugars, salt, and chemical additives to recover lost flavor. This not only alters your metabolism, but decreases absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like D, essential for calcium to reach bones. Also, frequent consumption of artificial additives and sweeteners has been linked to imbalances in gut flora, which also affects bone health. So, how can you protect yourself? Here's a quick guide to reading labels and making better choices. Avoid products with more than 5 unknown or unpronounceable ingredients. If you see words like corn syrup, phosphate, carrageenan, or sucralose, think twice. Check the order of ingredients. If sugar or salt is among the first 3, that product isn't healthy. Check if it's really fortified with calcium and vitamin D in bioavailable forms, like calcium carbonate or cholecalciferol. And finally, here are some healthy substitutions. Instead of sugary yogurt, choose natural yogurt without sugar and add fresh fruit or a little cinnamon yourself. Replace boxed cereals with cooked whole oats with nuts. If you drink plant-based beverages, choose one without sugar and with calcium added in natural forms. Swap light snacks for fruits, nuts, seeds, or low sodium and additive-free cheese. Remember, not everything labeled healthy really is. The food industry knows how to sell us peace of mind on a label, but your body doesn't read labels. It feels the effects. And if you're over 70, every choice counts. What seems small today can make a big difference in your bone health tomorrow. Tag. By now you know that bone fragility doesn't appear overnight. It builds slowly, bite by bite, with every habit we maintain for years without questioning. What seemed normal or harmless becomes over time a silent burden on your bones. Let's recap what we learned today. We talked about 6 dangerous foods for your bones, especially if you're over 70. First, refined sugar, which not only steals calcium, but leaves your body without the minerals it needs to stay strong. Second, excess salt, so hidden in everyday products, which expels calcium from your body without you noticing. Third, sodas and soft drinks, with phosphoric acid and caffeine that break calcium balance and weaken your bone structure. Fourth, alcohol, which directly affects vitamin D and collagen absorption, essential for keeping bones healthy. Fifth, processed meats, which alter your mineral metabolism, cause inflammation, and drain your calcium reserves. Sixth, excess coffee, which seems harmless but, in large amounts, blocks calcium absorption and speeds up demineralization. And as a bonus, I showed you foods pretending to be healthy: sugary yogurts, chemically fortified cereals, plant-based drinks without calcium, and light products full of additives the body doesn't recognize. Now that you have this information, you also have the power to choose differently. What you eat today is shaping your body for tomorrow. Every small change, every adjustment, is a way to protect yourself from pain, fractures, falls, and loss of independence. And here's the most important thing: it's never too late to start. Your bones, even if they have decades of history, can still get stronger. They just need 2 things: the right nutrients and conscious decisions. You can start with a single step, maybe eliminating sodas from your home, or swapping that industrial yogurt for a natural one, maybe reducing salt little by little, or simply going for a walk every day to activate your skeleton. You don't have to do everything today, but you have to start today. Because every time you choose well, you're telling your body it's worth taking care of what you still have. Remember this: you don't have to age breaking inside. You can be strong until the last day if you feed your bones well from now on. It doesn't matter what you've done until today. What matters is what you do from this moment forward. So tell me, which of these foods do you consume most often? Write it in the comments. I'd love to read you and know from which country you're watching me. And if this video helped you, share it with someone you want to protect, someone who needs this information before it's too late. Thank you for being here, for caring about your health, for learning with me. See you in the next video. And until then, take care of your bones. They support you more than you imagine.